sure thing, stormed out in a mood. Curtain call shows that you won't leave soon. Just gotta get your head in the right place. Alone, so you fake it. Come back, but you're not changing. I thought we wanted the same thing. I'm so tired of running, and all the hearts you're running. Another small and apology. We all fake love the same way. Tell me what you really mean. I thought we wanted the same thing. Another lie to keep the peace. We all fake love the same way. A beating heart lies beneath your floor. Buried deep, the truth that you want more. I'll let you stay 'cause I'm lonely. Speaking soft, you say hold me. I fall for it every time. You always hear the same damn lines. We all fake love the same. Pretend to numb the pain. I'm so tired of running, and all the hearts you're running. Another smile and apology. We all fake love the same way. Tell me what you really mean. I thought we wanted the same thing. Another lie to keep the peace. We all fake love the same way. Another smile and apology. We all fake love the same.
Hello, everybody. I'm back. I'm back from holiday. Welcome to the first live show back since I have been away. How did you guys live without me? No, but seriously, how did you? Guys, welcome. What we're gonna do today, to warm me up, to get me back into the swing of things, is we're going to discuss a pretty interesting-ish, actually it's not really interesting at all, a development which took place whilst I was away, which I obviously wasn't able to discuss because I wasn't here. I saw lots of different people's interpretations of what was going on in the YouTube space. Most of it was bad, to be frank. So what we're going to do today is not necessarily, I mean, we will touch on the whole, what's the likelihood of City's victory, why is City doing this, etc., etc. But this isn't going to be sort of like a legal breakdown of exactly what's going on, because I feel like if you wanted to learn that, then you could just like read the publicly available information. There are like 4 main things I want to hit on today. In fact, I've written them down. In the first instance, I want to discuss the correlation or lack therein in respect of this APT case and the 115 case. The second thing I want to discuss is why is City actually pursuing this legal action? What's this whole situation? Are we the tyranny of the majority? Are City trying to get rid of PSR? Do they want to spend wherever they want? Because that's what a lot of people have been saying. We'll also be discussing other clubs' utilisation of APT and whether it's inherently a bad thing or a wrong thing. The third thing I want to discuss is the concept of regulation, whether we need it, the current FFP situation, the whole external investment situation. And then finally, I want to discuss this notion, which people have decided is the case, that City are trying to eliminate APTs entirely, the relationship between related parties and UEFA. And we'll also be doing a dive into Man City sponsorships and whether that actually makes any sense relative to the reality of City's commercial standing. But hello guys, welcome to the stream. That's sort of like a little breakdown of what we will be discussing. And we can also do a cheeky little Q&A if we have time for that as well. I'm going on Mo's channel at 2, so we will have to wrap up before then, but we can certainly have a chat until then. As I said, I don't know how long we'll be talking for. Depends how interested you guys are in this case. Like, I know I'm late to the party. but I still think that it's probably worth me having a chat about. Hello, Leon, mate. How are you doing? Your lawyer friends agree the only winner here at the legal practice. Yes, Leon, I think that's always the way, isn't it? And also, guys, we're going to be doing the Euros from tonight. So, again, I thought I'd get this in now before the Euros actually commences in earnest. We'll be doing watch-alongs and other content on that. Probably some England post-mortems as well, depending on how angry I get. As you guys will find out by watching my watch-alongs, this might be a blasphemous thing to say, I personally, and you don't have to choose between club and country, but I'm personally more of an England fan than a City fan. I'm big on England. Yes, it won't just be England watch-alongs. I want to Germany, Scotland tonight. There'll be some other neutral ones as well throughout the tournament, of course. Hello, Mad Dog. Ayushi, thank you. Hello, Elder. Watch City Fan TV on 1, 5 or 4. So confident not getting done, says John. It was dancing some conversations. Ayushi, hopefully we can provide that today. Thank you, Thunder. I'm not sure about that, but Girth, yeah, absolutely. I've seen the Palace Wolves shirt deals look far worse than us. We need fair regulation. Yeah, I saw that as well. Yeah, because we've got a weird deal with 8xBet. Liverpool have a weird deal with 188bet. Wolves and Palace have taken it a further step by making it their front of shirt sponsor. For example, I think our deal with 8xBet is only worth like around 750,000 a year. So it's not obviously like if it is this illegal thing, obviously it's very bad. But in terms of like people, and maybe we'll discuss that as well, people wanting to use that as a sort of like, oh, gotcha, this is the reason why the 115 is proof. Really think it's proof because of a £750,000 a year deal. Like, how much of Holland's wages is that going to cover? Is that 3 weeks? 2 weeks? I don't even know. So yeah. Mars, thank you for asking. I've just got a very brief slideshow to show you. I don't know if you can tell. You know, I'm slightly browner than when I left. The first day I did get sunburn. If you can see my arm there. But the massive discoloration in therein. But let me just briefly, I know you guys are here for the football, so I'll just, for like the next, if you want to skip ahead for like 30 seconds, feel free to do that. But there will be a Mrs. Nobbins reveal, so if you haven't seen her, then stick around, because I've got a picture of her for you. This is our view from like the rooftop place. Best hotel we've ever been in, by the way. We went to Gran Canaria. It was beautiful. It was gorgeous. Mas Palomas, you can see the lighthouse. It's beautiful. Go to Gran Canaria. It's perfect weather, brilliant food. It was sunny every single day. Brilliant food as well, as I say. This is our view from our balcony. It's a side sea view. It was a deluxe room with a side sea view. You can see the dunes as well in the distance. Actually, we had a walk on the dunes. It was really cool. This is actually the only day it was overcast. Every other day it was clear blue sky. So yeah, that was really, really lovely. That's our room, just really nice. The sink was in the middle of the room for some reason, but hey, it worked. It made it look really nice, and yeah, just everything about it was lovely. I'll talk about it in more detail tonight on the watch along when there's some lulls in the action. That's me, and there's Mrs. Nobbins. If you've never seen her before, this is a Mrs. Nobbins reveal. That's me smiling because I'm drinking an amaretto sour. You can see my left arm is incredibly pink, and that is Mrs. Nobbins. That was our second night. That was when we went to our favourite steakhouse in Gran Canaria. And this, guys, best meal I've ever eaten. A lobster and prawn paella. Oh my goodness. It was gorgeous. There we go. That's a little recap. I can maybe go into that more detail later on today's watch along. But guys, let's get started now. Wow, what the? That's outrageous. Right, let's get started with today. So, join me for tonight's watch along if you want more info about my holiday, etc. We are going to be doing that. And again, guys, this is a Q&A stream, so get your comments in. We will be discussing everything. So if you've got comments which are like totally separate to like what we're discussing today, keep them in mind. We're doing Q&A stuff later in the video. And maybe we can like do some interlude stuff. The first thing I want to do, guys, is touch on, as I say, the fact that not enough people have liked the video. Let's get up to 50 likes. Come on, guys. More likes, more viewers, happier Nobbins. Yes, happy Nobbins, happy Schlobbins. Yeah, so the first thing I want to touch on is the correlation between the associated party transaction situation and the 115 situation. In fact, maybe as a sort of preamble, let's just have a very brief synopsis on what has taken place so far. In 2021, I actually did a YouTube video on this at the time. Don't know if it I don't know if it exists on my channel anymore, but I certainly remember doing it. In 2021, in the wake of the Newcastle takeover by the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia, and by consequence, the Saudi Arabian executive, the Premier League opted to rush through some temporary outright bans, as I remember, on associated party transactions. Nobbins? What is an associated party transaction? It's basically just a commercial dealing that you would have with another party who is in somewhat way related to you. Now, we'll get into the exact precise definitions in respect of what that is and maybe why this is City's problem with the Premier League's interpretation of associated party transactions. But essentially, we can have, using it to the Newcastle situation, which is why it was brought in at the time. These might as well be Newcastle regulations. There was a concern that Newcastle would just get like a front of shirt sponsor from some sort of Saudi Arabian firm, let's say Saudia, that would be totally provided by the executive of Saudi Arabia, artificially pumping money into Newcastle. It was the fear, and therefore Newcastle get loads more commercial deals, therefore they can spend more money in respect of FFP, PSR. That's the basic gist of what is an associated party transaction. It's someone who is closely connected with you, someone who may have an influence on you. In the law, it's normally a related party situation. It's normally to do with the director of a company and their spouse or a family member, or is someone who also can exert direct influence over them. That's in general what it means. So that's what they are, and that's why they were brought in at the time in 2021. Now, contrary to popular belief, or the belief that I've seen, at this stage, 3 years ago, no less, Manchester City abstained from the vote. There were 18 clubs voting in favour of the introduction of APTs in 2021. Newcastle voted against. Manchester City abstained. And they clarified that they had been advised that the rules were unlawful. That these rules could not be implemented because they went against UK competition law. Now that was what City maintained, or that's what City's legal advisors said in 2021. So they abstained at the time, and they said, if you introduce more regulation, we are going to pursue legal action. Okay? So the seed was sown and the stage was set 3 years ago. So immediately, that should hopefully tell everyone that this has nothing to do with the whole 115 situation, because Man City weren't, that action by the Premier League wasn't brought until 2023. So this is 2 years preceding that. So we need to immediately get it out of our head that this has any correlation to do with that. The key thing, as we all know, of the whole 115 situation, the key element of that matter is the notion not that Man City have inflated sponsorship revenues in respect to value, the notion that Man City have disguised sponsorship revenue with equity from Sheikh Mansour. There is a big difference there. The two are not the same at all. Those two notions and concepts are not similar on any level. People get confused because it's like, well, the idea of like it being to do with sponsorships, but that is not the case. As we will discuss later at the Court of Arbitration for Sport, which is a lot of what the 115 situation is, it was not in dispute that Etihad, for example, was entered into for fair value or not. That was never in dispute by UEFA. That was never in dispute by CAS. Totally separate. Totally separate. The whole CAS situation was, we're not disputing whether, I don't know the exact details. Let's say, for example, Etihad deal is worth £100 million. It wasn't that, but for argument's sake, you're saying it's worth £100 million. UEFA's argument was that, well, Etihad only provided 25% of that. Sheikh Mansour provided 75% of that. But we still think the £100 million is fair value, but we just don't think that it was provided by Etihad. That's a very, very brief, basic summation of one of the matters at CAS, but that's the key correlation with APT, Associated Party Transactions. There is, and that's the point, there is no correlation between the two. And it's very frustrating when there are so many people, people in like mainstream media or YouTube media, like social media, whatever, where they are trying to make a correlation between the two, and they're trying to find links, and then there isn't one. Specifically, City's current action against the Premier League, which is currently going through an arbitration panel as we speak. That action was brought in due to... Sorry, that action was commenced by City due to the latest amendments to the APT section of the Premier League handbook, okay? In around, I think it was either February or March of this year. And not publicly, City said, well, we told you that we were going to bring legal action if you widened and you placed further restrictions. You've placed further restrictions, so we're going to commence legal action now. So that's what's happened. There is no correlation between the two. No, not in respect of time frame, not in respect of the context of the cases, not in respect of anything that I can see in respect of what's a material matter. So if anyone wants to try to tell you that this is some sort of, again, like a smoking gun, or that City are panicked and are therefore trying to challenge this to impact the 115, it's not true. If City win this APT situation, it's not going to impact the 115 because, again, the charges were from 2009 to 2018, and this APT regulation was only truly brought in 2021. There is nothing between the two. So that's the first thing to say. What is the correlation between APT and 115? As far as I can tell, there isn't one. Unless there's some missing information I'm unaware of, which isn't available in the public domain, there is no correlation. There is nothing going on in respect of either or. But people want to make it a thing. Again, someone said it's for clicks, for Mimble Centurions. Maybe that's the case. Maybe. I don't know. So that's the first thing to note. If you guys got any questions or thoughts, by the way, as we go, feel free to pop them in the comments and I can try to reply to them as we go through it. Thank you for the welcome back, by the way, Louise. Nobbins Fan TV. Brilliant, Georgie. So that's the first thing to do. The second thing to discuss is why are City actually doing this? So we've established it's not to, try to impact the 115 case in any way. We know that's not a thing. So why are City actually doing it? What's this whole notion of the tyranny of the majority? And a lot of people are saying that City are trying to get rid of PSR and they're trying to get rid, the profit and sustainability rules. They're trying to get rid of FFP entirely. They want to spend whatever they want to spend. Unless I'm missing something, I don't think that City are trying to argue that. If they are, I don't agree. Because I don't agree that no regulation is a good thing. There clearly needs to be some form of regulation, otherwise it would be the Wild West and it would be a free-for-all and anyone can do anything at any time. And that's clearly not fair and it's not good for the competition of the sport. There does need to be something. It can't just be, City have spent £5 billion this summer or whatever. That would be silly. And we sign all the players in the world and we just keep them prisoner. That would obviously be silly. So there has to be some regulation. It is clear though that, and this could be an entirely different, a separate stream, couldn't it? The current FFP landscape and PSR landscape is wrong, and what we have now isn't right. In terms of, if you are an ambitious club, I don't know, Crystal Palace, for example, I'm not saying they're an ambitious club, but I'm just using that as an example. In this hypothetical, Crystal Palace are an ambitious club. And they've got very exciting young players, like Wharton, Elise, Eze, etc., some Mateta, some very good players. Let's say that Palace, and an exciting manager, let's say that Palace want to, within 5 years, they want to win the Premier League, let's say. So every single season, they want to climb up the table. Did they finish 10th this year? Let's say they finished 10th. I don't know if they did. So next year they want to go 8th. The year after that, 6th. The year after that, 4th. The year after that, 2nd. The year after that, they want to compete and win the title within like a 2-3 year period. They can't realistically do that. They are capped in respect to their ambition because of the current rule system, because it's tied to revenue, and we'll get into some graphs later on City's commercial revenue graphs, etc. But yeah, their ambition is capped, essentially, which I don't think is fair. Like for example, if Ipswich are like, we want to win the Premier League within 10 years. We just got to the Premier League, right? A 10-year period, we want to win it. We all know that ain't going to happen, because it can't happen. Bar some miracle, it cannot happen. And there are some people, I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent here, but there are some people who want to sort of like have even more regulation, even more restrictions. So this idea that City are fighting back RE wider restrictions, I don't think is inherently a bad thing. And I don't think the idea of APTs is inherently a bad thing either. If you didn't have external investment, so if we just had, right, you spend what you earn, etc., then Blackburn in 1995 doesn't happen. Blackburn win the league title in 95 does not happen, because that happened because a rich man pumped money into Blackburn. So they don't win the Premier League. So scratch that off. United win it that year. Scratch every single Premier League title that Chelsea have won, because Abramovich coming in doesn't happen. Scratch every single title City have won, because Sheikh Mansour doesn't happen. You scratch Leicester off as well. Because despite, yes, it was a 5,000 to 1 shot, and it was incredibly impressive, obviously. But if there's any Championship fans here, they will tell you that Leicester at that time were embroiled in a big FFP ooh-ah post sort of like 2010-ish, and they were disliked by many Championship fans at that moment of time. From around 2010 onwards, going into their title win, Leicester spent over £100 million. Then when they got to the Premier League, they spent over £50 million. Now, that's tiny compared to what United spent, for example, or City spent or whatever. But it wasn't an insurmountable amount of money. And this is where I'm going to link it back into APTs. Leicester don't win the Premier League without associated party transactions. Tell me what their stadium's called. And tell me who owns Leicester. So that doesn't happen without them. So this idea that they are inherently bad, I don't know if I agree with. Because of all of that context I've just discussed. I don't inherently believe that external investment is bad, and I don't inherently believe that APTs are bad. I do believe that regulation is needed, and I might like to see some sort of model like the NBA's adopted. I think that's a really interesting model. I don't know how realistic. It's not realistic at all, but I don't know how good that might be. But on the surface analysis, I like what the NBA do in respect of that. So what was the whole point of that tangent? Oh yeah, and just to surmise that would mean that if you, because there are some people who want there to be further restrictions, even more restrictions, and basically want to like outright ban external investments or whatever. If you did that, then there'd be 3 different winners of the Premier League. You'd have Liverpool, United, and Arsenal. Blackburn wouldn't exist, and Leicester wouldn't exist, and City wouldn't exist, and Chelsea wouldn't exist. So you'd have, instead of having 7 different winners, you'd have 3, which to me doesn't seem good for competition. That's my hot take on that. So why are City actually bringing this? I would question how many of these people who are having a go at City have actually properly reviewed the have properly reviewed the Premier League handbooks. Let's deal with a couple things. Tyranny of the majority. There is no way that City are bringing this action to the Premier League in the hope that the democratic system of a two-third majority gets wiped out. There is no world in which that is the case. And if City's argument, like if City's whole entire skeleton argument gets leaked, and City is saying, yeah, we want to get rid of the two-thirds majority, then I'll hold my hands up. But there is no world in which that is actually what City are trying to argue. It's not a thing. It's just not. That is clearly, again, I've not seen the 165-page legal documents. No, I think it's only certain elements of the media have. That Times article is, whilst very interesting, has clearly been drafted with some influence by whoever leaked it. Because I don't know if we discussed this. This should be a private arbitration matter. No one should even know this is happening. The only reason we know it's happening is because of a leak. A very tactical leak. City wouldn't have leaked that document. It's not in their interest to do it. So it's either the Premier League or one of the adversarial parties, like like an Arsenal, United, Liverpool, whoever. One of the sides who are against City on this matter. So you've got to take that Times article with a massive pinch of salt, because once again, it's been drafted in accordance with what they want to be known. From their sympathetic view. So that tyranny of the majority line is, the way I've interpreted it, is it's clearly a complaint the City have, and it's like it might even be one throwaway line in an entire 165-page document. So the fact people are getting on that, people are like, oh yeah, City want to destroy democracy. I don't know where the evidence for that is. We're saying that because of a John Stuart Mill reference. Shout out John Stuart Mill, by the way. I studied him. So I'm not having that City are trying to destroy the democratic system of the Premier League. There is no world in which that's the case. I think they're just trying to make a wider point that City are in a minority in respect to their ownership position, and there are lots of clubs who don't like that. Therefore, it's easy for these clubs to vote them down. Will be like one of their many points. Again, they're not trying to get rid of democracy. So people need to chill out with that, I think. People are taking that way too far. And who wrote the article has an Arsenal connection, says Puneet. Wasn't it said that one person from the Arsenal leaked it, maybe Alexander? The Red Cartel, says Liam. Muddy Duck says it was deliberately leaked by someone from Arsenal, which says it's, maybe, I don't know if we know the exact source of the leak, but clearly it wasn't leaked from the City's perspective, because why would it be? Again, contrary to what people think, City, in this instance, are doing what the law wants them to do in terms of it should be kept private. So City have done that. It's the other party who has not done that, or the other parties who haven't done that. So it's the other people who aren't abiding by the rule of law in this country in that instance. So I just thought that was quite funny. So yeah, they aren't suing to get rid of the 2/3 system, because that's stupid. Are City bringing this action to get rid of all restrictions and to make it a Wild West? No, obviously not. Once again, the exact complaint that City have, as we discussed at the start of the stream, is in respect of the tightening of restrictions in terms of the rules brought in around February, March earlier of this year, or Feb, March, was around that time. I can't recall the exact month, apologies. I have reviewed the handbook pre and post amendment. Essentially, I don't actually know, because I don't know the exact thing. City's general argument is one of it is in breach of competition law. Okay? They are arguing that it is in breach of the law. I'm not even going to touch on the fact that some people are saying tough luck, it's a rule. You can't break the law. I actually can't believe that has to be explained and argued by people. I can't believe some people equate that with, do you see Doku on, was it Doku on McAllister or whatever? By the law, he should be in jail. Well, no, because assault charges have a defense in respect of sport and in respect of the physical contact one might expect in a sporting context. So I can't believe that is a side note. I can't believe people are actually trying to argue that if something is illegal, it should still be fine. That's incredible. What is competition law? Competition law is basically the idea that, well, I mean, it's a very varied, but essentially the idea of competition law is to keep the current free market system in place. It's to prevent the idea of cartels. So, for example, there was a, I think Apple technically are always in breach of competition law, but it's something like, what's a good example? You've got two companies, and these two companies are the only companies which sell, I don't know, candles. Yeah, you can't get candles anywhere else. These guys have got the market locked down. Yeah, no one else can make candles. These guys are the only ones who can make candles. They collaborate together and they decide, well, why it only costs us £1 to make a candle. Why don't we charge 100 quid? Because where are people going to go to? Where are people going to go to? Nowhere. We're the only guys that can make candles. We're the only guys making candles here. 100 quid a candle. Boom. That competition law exists to stop things like that from happening, to stop cartels and monopolies. It's also just to encourage competition generally. So that's what we mean by competition law. City's general argument, as I understand it, is that we'll get more into that later in respect of like the potential targeting. Dockers, no, it's because I've seen that argument. People going, well, if the law was interpreted all the time, then Docker would be going to jail. And again, that's not how assault charges work in this country, or hopefully in any country, because you have certain facilities for sport context. So it's not the tyranny of the majority. Yeah, so let's go back to the handbook situation. There's a lot to discuss. Sorry if I'm going off on tangents. As far as I can tell, these are the main differences between the handbook from the previous occurrence and the handbook from the most recent occurrence, i.e. the rules that City now challenging. I need to look back at it again. I looked at it whilst I was on holiday, so maybe it wasn't perfect analysis, but this is what I understand. They have widened, in the first instance, the definition of what is an associated party. This is important because the Etihad, for example, according to UEFA, is not a related party to City, on the most recent assessment anyway. Now, you can have your opinion on that, whatever you want, but the reality of the situation is that, and we're going to get very anal and technical here, Manchester City are owned by City Football Group, which are owned by, I actually can't remember the name, is it the Abu Dhabi United Group or something, which is owned by an individual in Sheikh Mansour. Sheikh Mansour is the vice president of the United Arab Emirates. And no, is it Abu Dhabi? I don't want to get that wrong. One sec, guys. No, okay. Yes, vice president of the UAE. That's what it is. Deputy Prime Minister of the UAE as well. Okay, so he's both. Does he have an Abu Dhabi title? He does not. He's just a member of the royal family. Okay. So the relation there is that he is obviously in the royal family of this country. Etihad is owned by the government of not, and this is where I think the important distinction is, and this is why I think UEFA concluded that it wasn't a related party, because Etihad isn't owned by the UAE. Etihad is owned by Abu Dhabi, and you might say that's being very anal, but the politics of the UAE make that a very important distinction. Abu Dhabi does not have any direct influence over Dubai, for example. The two governments are separate, and the two ruling families are not related to one another. You might say that's an anal point, but it does matter. It does matter. So that's why, again, UEFA concluded these aren't related parties. By the associated party rules under the Premier League rulings, however, would have this as an associated party transaction. So in the first instance, the widening of what defines an associated party clearly has irked City. But what I think that maybe what I found is, and also the second point is this whole notion of who decides what is fair value, because the long and short of it is, and this is very long, is that if an associated party transaction has been identified, then the question becomes, is it of fair market value? Don't worry about me saying anal, don't worry about it. Is it of fair market value? Because if it's not an arm's length transaction, is it of fair market value? The question then becomes, well, what is fair market value? And this is where the waters are muddied, because again, from what I can tell, from one Premier League handbook to the next, the Premier League has sort of tightened its grasp on their control and authority and say on what they define market value is and who their experts are, and it's this assessor, and you don't have a say on that. I can't remember. Can you even challenge it? I can't remember if you can challenge it. I need to look. You can definitely challenge it in the old rules. I don't know if you can in the new ones. I'll need to revisit that. So I think that's another issue. We'll get onto the UEFA thing. There's so many different tangents here. We'll get onto the UEFA thing. But for example, UEFA have or had an associated party, a related party transaction situation as well. The difference there with the whole UEFA thing, and maybe why City haven't maybe challenged UEFA in the same manner, is that UEFA provides clubs with a list of assessors, which are UEFA approved, but there is still a choice there. I don't know how many there are, but they are provided with a list of multiple assessors, not just the one. Maybe that's another reason why City are challenging this, because they feel like, well, you're not even really giving us a choice on who we can go to. It's one assessor you have decided is fair, but what if we don't agree? Or what if we don't agree with them? And ultimately, it's the board, the Premier League board, who make the decision. That could be another reason why City are challenging it, because they ultimately, obviously, don't trust the Premier League, don't like the Premier League. But then the third thing, which might be a minor point, but I don't think it is that the difference from the old regulations to the new, what I can see, is that you can potentially be hanging in limbo for a month under the new rules with associated party transactions before it's approved. So, from what I could tell, the Premier League have a lot of leeway in respect of, because in the first instance it says something like within 7 days we'll make a decision and then But from there, if they disagree with that you can be in limbo for up to 30 days with them. You then coming back and then challenging it, and then they make a further decision within like a reasonable time frame or whatever, or maybe that language was removed. But so you could now be and commercial transactions take months to negotiate, sometimes years to negotiate. So if you're spending months and months and months and months negotiating a commercial deal, and then and you say, right, we should be ready to go from X date, this will tie in with X event, whatever, and this will be really good for revenue from the commercial company. But then you got the Premier League go, nah, you're gonna have to wait another month. That stuff like that in the commercial scene is a massive roadblock. And can massively impact dealings. So I think that might be another reason why City are saying that this isn't really fair, and this is anti-competitive, because you're creating, not only are you creating a situation where we've got to go through this process and potentially lessening the gains we're going to make, but it also might cause delays, which might in turn cause potential partnerships to deteriorate or end entirely. Again, if you've got a deal with if you're trying to sponsor an entity and you need it to be live by X date, and you're scheduling it to be live by X date, and then the Premier League are like, well, I know actually we don't think that's fair value. Give us, send it back. Come back in 30 days, or the maximum point of the time frame. That's massive. So I think that could be another reason why City are challenging this thing as well. If you guys are bored, just say. But if you've got any questions, let me know. As I say, this is my very basic analysis of what I saw on holiday. So we've covered I made two main points there out of 4. The correlation between APT and 115. Why is City actually bringing this, turning the majority, either trying to get rid of PSR, etc. And that's something to note, just to wrap this section off before we get into the next section. UEFA had associated party transaction rules, or called-related party transaction rules. The idea that City are trying to get rid of them entirely and not deal with them on any level is crap, guys. UEFA have had them. I think it was brought in, was it 2013, 2014? When that happened, when City's Etihad deal was being constructed in around that time frame, City consulted UEFA because to check it would be a related party transaction. I think they concluded it wasn't, but Etisalat was, for example. So this has already been in existence. I just don't know what people think is happening. Even if City defeats this APT situation, they've still got to do fair value bollocks with UEFA competitions. And guess what, guys? UEFA, City are in UEFA competitions. I think what's interesting, and maybe what I think should happen, is that since 2022, I think it was, UEFA's new financial situation, UEFA got rid of related party transaction rhetoric in their regulations, as far as I can tell, and they changed it for a system which I think is much fairer. UEFA now say that every single transaction must be of fair value, regardless of whether it's a related party one. I think that is absolutely fair, and I think that is what the Premier League should have adopted. Because, and this is what I think City's big gripe, by making it only associated party transaction situations, what you're basically doing is you are isolating certain and specific clubs. City and Newcastle, realistically. Maybe some other ones in there as well, but those are the two main targets. Which is targeting, and I don't think that's right. I think that every single deal should be under the microscope. If one deal is under the microscope, they should all be under the microscope. Why not, at that point, why not just say, right, the maximum value of a shirt sponsor is X? Just do that at that point. So it's just wrong. John with a very, very bold statement there. I don't know if it's that, but it's certainly not right. Hopefully we can all agree that, well, maybe we can't. I think we should all agree that if you're doing fair market value for one deal, you should do it for all of them. Level the playing field. Make it fair for all clubs rather than isolating and targeting certain clubs. I think that's really weird thing to do. So maybe that's another reason why City are going for them, because it's like, well, you are literally targeting us. UEFA have got a situation where it's every single deal, and you haven't. That doesn't seem fair. It doesn't seem right. It seems targeting. It seems like an attack almost. Yeah, musty. So that's what. So yeah. So people need to just fucking read or whatever. And again, UEFA literally have fair market value things. City aren't trying to eliminate fair market value. City aren't trying to pump in billions of pounds into one commercial deal and getting away with it. They can't. They're in the Champions League. UEFA would be all over that shit. So it's just a load of hokum that people are saying that. So yeah, point number 3. I think we have to be fair, we touched on point 3. My point 3 was the idea of no regulations bad. I agree with that. The current FFP situation is bad. We've discussed that at length. External investment needs to be permitted given the current landscape. We've already covered that, to be fair, because we've established that if you didn't allow for external investment, literally you would have 3 Premier League winners: Arsenal, Liverpool, Man United. Is that a better world? Or should we have the world where City are also competing and Chelsea are competing and Blackburn were able to compete, even if only for a short time, and Leicester as well? Because again, that would not have been possible but for external investment and but for an associated party transaction. Their stadium is called the King Power. Who's that owned by? Anyway. So that's that. The final point, And then I've had this has really been a bit of a rant, to be honest. And then maybe we'll do a Q&A. And again, guys, keep your, if you got comments or questions, feel free to bring them in. If you just sat back and enjoying this rant, then more power to you, I suppose. Whether you're enjoying it or not, we have got over 150 people here, which is great. We're not even at 100 likes, guys. Please get us up to over 100 likes. More likes equals more viewers equals more engagement, more comments, more interesting discussions for us to talk about. We'll talk about the Euros. So I've got to head off at 2, Musty, but yes, we can definitely squeeze that in, hopefully. And I'm doing a Euros watch-along tonight. Germany, Scotland, we're doing loads of Euros watch-alongs throughout the Euros, so make sure you are subscribed with your notifications on. Actually, to be fair, I think we have discussed point number 4 as well, because my point 4 was this idea that City are trying to eliminate associated party transactions entirely. No. It's not true. Any double streams maybe Musty. Depend if there are 2 interesting games on one day, why not? Yeah, the idea they're trying to eliminate them entirely. E-Hink, thank you so much for the tip. Oh, I miss my little girl Evie. Oh. Similar to FIFA pricing boundaries, it makes it fair. Teams wouldn't be overpaid or overcharged. Look at the extra certain team Prem English tax. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Why at that point? Why don't we just go the whole hog? Why don't we just go the whole hog and put in price restrictions and limits on everything? A sleeve sponsor can only be worth up to £20 million. A front of shirt sponsor can only be worth up to £50 million. A stadium deal can only be worth up to £50 million. Just do that. If you want to go the whole hog and regulate like that. That's again, if you're going to do it, then you can do it. But there we go. Thank you so much for the super chat, E-Ink. Genuinely means the world. Yeah, so City not trying to eliminate APTs at all. If City win this case, then all that's going to happen is that... yeah, of course, Musty, yeah. All that's going to happen is that they'll redraft them. They'll redraft the rules to something which isn't in breach of competition law. If City don't win the case... and maybe we'll end on why I don't think they will, then we'll carry on with our lives as we know. I cannot believe the amount of hyperbole and scaremongering in YouTube media, social media, mainstream media. It is disgusting, quite frankly, and so ill-informed and ridiculous. If City win this case, nothing is going to happen. This is not... People have said it's like, and football will change forever as we know it. No! What do you mean? And I think it's Simon Jordan, is it, who is up in his arms and having a paddy at the notion of a member of an institution taking that institution through an arbitration matter or to court, whatever. Why are we acting like Real Madrid have not sued La Liga about 12 times in the past 20 years? Why are we acting like Barcelona, an athletic club, have not sued La Liga in the past decade? This is not an isolated incident. This is not some sort of first-time event in football. La Liga clubs regularly sue La Liga. Just happens on a frequent basis. Real Madrid's case was this year. It was this year, guys. I don't remember, and they lost, by the way. And they lost. I don't remember the fucking world imploding. Real Madrid have won in the past as well, by the way. I don't remember the fucking world imploding when they won those cases or when La Liga won those cases. It's very common for these things to happen. So get off your fucking high horse at the concept of City suing the Premier League. If the rule is an unlawful rule, then it is the correct thing to do. Even if it isn't, it is clearly arguable. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having a 2-week arbitration hearing. If it was cut and dry and just, yeah, well, you're wrong, it would be thrown out immediately and you wouldn't need a 2-week period. The fact that one exists surely tells us that there is an argument to be had. Before we get into my final points, because people annoy me, let's very briefly touch on the whole legality of it. You know, will City win? Ultimately, I don't think they will win, because, in my opinion, I just don't personally see a world in which the Premier League, with the amount of legal resources they have, and the amount of money they must invest into drafting, etc., and law firms, I find it very, very difficult to accept that they would draft rules which are like illegal. I find that very hard to believe, to be honest. I don't claim to be a competition law expert. Hated studying it, never practiced it. It is an awful area of law. If you are thinking of getting into law, first of all, don't. But secondly, if you are insistent, do not get into competition law. It is fucking horrendous in respect to the subject matter that you have to consume. I haven't quite, again, these are my theories. I haven't been able to figure out exactly what it is, what City's main complaint is. Again, they claim that lost damages, I just find it very difficult to believe they will win. What is competition law? Oh, so we discussed it earlier, Musty, but basically it's the idea that, let's say you've got two companies, they both sell candles, they're the only companies in the world that sell candles, they've got the market locked down, they have the monopoly, it's a cartel, whatever, and they both agree we're going to sell them for £100 minimum, even though it only costs us £1 to make. They've locked down the market, they prevent a competition. One of City's arguments might be, well, by stopping us from accessing these sponsors, we are therefore restricted from certain avenues of revenue and investment. Therefore, we are at a disadvantage. I am Sean, yes. But I don't claim to be a competition law expert. That's why I'm not. That is my yeah, Bailey, and we discussed that absolutely. Yeah. So that is my interpretation of it. But again, I don't even know if that's the most interesting thing about this whole thing. The most interesting things for me, again, is the fact that people think there is a correlation. The fact that people are confused at why City are bringing this action. The fact that people are so blinded by the notion of APTs and external investment. The last thing I want to touch on, guys, we've got another 20 minutes or so, is the final idea, as I just pop that there, is this weird false narrative that City are trying to eliminate APTs entirely, and the reason why they are doing that is because they can't get a legitimate sponsorship themselves in respect to like commercial revenue. So okay, an interesting theory. An interesting theory. Bollocks. Literally the other day, City, yeah, Pep the Goat. Literally the other day, City opened a new sponsorship with a solar panel company. I ain't ever heard of them, but they seem incredibly legitimate, and I think they're a Chinese company listed on the New York Stock Exchange. Incredibly legitimate. No idea how much that's going to bring in, but yeah, this idea that City can't bring in non-associated party deals is shite. We're going to discuss that now. L community, we're good here. Hello. I think we're very nice here. What was I saying? Yeah. Let's go to this screen here. Right, guys. I don't think Sean's being abusive, is he? I think Sean's being nice. No, I can't see anyone being abusive here unless I'm missing something. We're all friends here. We're all chill. We're all good. Yeah, we're all lovely here. We're all friends. Yeah, so again, guys, this idea that City can't get sponsorship deals which are, what's it? Yeah, Musty's one of my moderators, guys. Like, don't worry about it. He's been here for bare time. Let's break the... So this, according to SportCal, no idea how legitimate this is, but I expect it to be correct. And this correlates because in that Times article, one of the big things that came out was 4 of City's top 10 sponsors are based in Abu Dhabi. Okay. as far as I can tell, these are the sponsors. Let's break these down one by one, okay? And let's bust the idea the City are entirely reliant on third-party transactions. The reason this is relevant, guys, this is the Deloitte Football Money League. This is City's commercial income here, 399 million. Commercial, there you go. It's not the biggest in Europe, contrary to what people think. Real Madrid is bigger. And you lay out for the comments. I like the layout, to be honest. It's not as big as PSG's. It's not as big as Barcelona's. It's not as big as Bayern Munich's. So that makes it bigger than everyone in England, though. United can hold that. So that makes it, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th biggest in Europe. And by extension, therefore, the world, I imagine. So this is the key thing. You weren't being abused, Musty. We're all chill, we're all friends. Ian, no one was having to go. We're all good. Sean shouting 115, so not a City fan, just on here to bait. Wait, what? I don't think Sean even said anything bad. Anyway, guys, let's move on. Let's move on with our lives. Yeah, so this is the issue people have. City people are like, well, how can you get £400 million without clearly it's been pumped in. Let's put that to bed. Puma gives City, these are all like estimates or whatever, £65 million a year. That is the second biggest shirts deal in the Premier League, only behind Man United. Now, last time I checked, Puma don't have any affiliation with Abu Dhabi. So that's fair market value. And again, I'll repeat, that is only behind Man United in respect of kit manufacturer. Okay? So immediately we should be able to put that to bed. The fact that Puma are willing to spend that much money should put it to bed. Etihad Airways. Obviously, there's a link to Abu Dhabi there. The issue here is we can bust this myth because UEFA said this was entered into for fair market value. There was a really interesting article. I can't remember who it was, but it was like an analysis firm or something, and they reviewed the current state of front of shirt sponsors relative to what they deem the actual value. I think they said, by their definitions, that maybe the Etihad one was maybe 2 million over value, according to them, which is nothing per year. It is nothing, right? Okay, so hopefully we can do that. OKX. These guys are our sleeve sponsors. Okay? I think they're a Chinese cryptocurrency firm on the stock exchange. No link to Abu Dhabi. Would you guys like to hazard a guess at how much this deal is worth to City, according to like reports? It is £20 million a year. Do you know how much Visit Rwanda is on Arsenal's sleeve by comparison? So if City's is 20 million, what do you reckon Arsenal's is? Because certain Arsenal fans might have you think that there's no way you can make more commercial money than us. Neither are affiliated with either club. 10 million. It's half. It is half the value. These aren't related parties. So I don't know where people are getting the idea that City can only rely on associated parties or sponsors in Abu Dhabi. It is literally double. So I don't know what's going on there. So weird. The issue with this, Nandish, has always been that people don't understand it because, in the first instance, UEFA said it was fine, so not true anyway. But in the second instance, it wasn't just for the shirt sponsor. It was also for the It was for the shirt sponsor, and it was for the stadium, and it was for the training ground. That was the issue there. People didn't quite understand that. Asahi Supertry. Last time I checked, there ain't no connection between. I mean, it would be really weird if there was a connection between a dry country like the UAE and Asahi. I know it's super dry, but still, Japanese. This is one of the biggest food/beverages deals of its sort in football. There is no connection between City and Asahi. It's almost as if City are able to attract a good amount of commercial revenue which isn't even Abu Dhabi related. Etisalat. This is Abu Dhabi related. Once again, though, irrelevant. UEFA established this was entered into for fair value. Can we please move on with our lives? Next Entire. These were our sleeve sponsors. I believe this is worth £10 million. Or was. I don't know if it still is now. This is in price order, by the way, guys. Again, there's no correlation there. Abu Dhabi Tourism, there is. I can't comment on the fair value there. In fairness, from an external source. Emirates Palace, again, in fairness, is. But we've got Nissan Lodge in there. We've got Socios.com. I've no idea how much these are going to be worth. But if Next Entire is, again, I believe it's 10 million, then these have got to be less. So the idea that City are having an unbelievable amount of money pumped in is just a load of bollocks. The two main ones, i.e. Etihad and Etisalat, were established by UEFA to be a fair value. Puma is the biggest, and it's not even related. OKX is the most valuable sleeve sponsor in the Premier League, equal with Man United's, double Arsenal's, by the way, and there's no affiliation. So it's a Puma, I believe, is 65 million, which again is only behind Man United. It's better than Arsenal's, it's better than Liverpool's, it's better than Spurs, it's better than Chelsea's, it's better than everyone else. And there is no affiliation between Sheikh Mansour and Puma. This is why City's commercial revenue is this high. The reason is because City have been in the Champions League for and have got past the group stages every single occasion for a decade. If you are a company and you need your brand to be on the world stage and you need a guarantee nailed on, it will be in the knockout stage of the Champions League, and you want to sponsor an English club, the only safe bet you have is Man City. Liverpool, no. Arsenal, no. United, no. Spurs, no. Chelsea, no. None of them have got past out of the group stages every single time over the past decade. Some of them haven't even qualified for the Champions League in the past decade. So this is why, like, I believe, was it a Chevrolet or TeamViewer's partnership with United fell apart or fell down, or Adidas, I can't recall, because they were disappointed that United didn't get into the Champions League or didn't get past the knockout stages. So success breeds money. This is how it works. So it's a thing. Shimon shows, oh my god, no way, there's the connection. Clay's Close, shut up. Shocks, it is current World Cup and playing champ. Exactly, and that's sort of the crux of it. That is the crux of it, Muddy Duck. I wonder why success breeds commercial opportunities. Now I accept that in 2008, City would not be able to get OKX for 20 million a year, and they would not be able to get Puma for 65 million a year. That's not in dispute. But we are talking about post-regulation and post-rules being brought in, and regardless, these were all decided to be fair value at the time by UEFA in any event. So it's a moot point, and it's irrelevant. So that, guys, in a nutshell, is basically my rant on the situation and the ignorance of people not understanding the situation. And if you don't understand, if people are ignorant to it, there's nothing wrong with being ignorant. Like Toby, for example. I'm not having to go at you, Toby. But Toby, great guy. Bit of a whatever, but bit of a certain P word. But apart from that, Toby said, I don't know what's going on. Can you explain it to me? It's nothing. That's great. That's brilliant. You got some people who don't know what they're talking about, but don't want to have it explained to them, and they will just be adamant that they know best, and they won't research it, and they'll just go, "Yeah, that's right. I know what I'm talking about." So it's just shite. Yeah, exactly, and that's the crux of it, Musty. Where is this article? So this, guys, is the Deloitte Money League. This is they release one every year, and it's basically just it's just a summation, a breakdown. Because in case you guys didn't know, in general, the three main ways that clubs have revenue streams is broadcast, match day, commercial. and this will be a point City make, by the way. City are being based in the northwest, not having as big a tourist audience as United. City can't make as much match day revenue as other clubs. But, you know, let's take Arsenal. I think Arsenal make more match day revenue than anyone else in England. Arsenal make £180 million in match day revenue. By contrast, City only make 83 million. That's due to a number of factors. Arsenal season tickets are much more expensive. London's a much more affluent area. You can charge more for tickets, more for food, more for hospitality, etc. Man United as well. Yes, of course, they're also in the northwest, but they have a massive tourist audience. That's not a bad thing, by the way. It's just a thing. Therefore, you can charge more for hospitality, more for tourist tickets. That's why they have 151 million, which dwarfs City's 83 million. You'll notice that City's broadcast revenue is massive. Because guess what? Being good means you go on TV a lot. Means people want to watch you. Being good means you get the commercial money. So City's argument will be, well, we can't make as much from match day due to those factors. We need to make that up in the commercial APT situation, as we have discussed. But this, I think, is the most telling and damning thing. The fact that people want to turn this into a City can only make money with associated parties. And that's why they want to get rid of this rule. Not even true, because you'd still have to do the fair market value of what UEFA say. But look at that list, guys. It's not going to be perfect, but a lot of these figures are in the public domain. And I'll repeat, this is the one for me. Whether you think about this company as a cryptocurrency, whatever, you know, and like whether they're moral or not, is largely irrelevant. When we're talking about the fees, which is what we are doing. I'll repeat, it is twice the value of Arsenal's. It is the same value as Man United's. And there's no relation to Abu Dhabi. This one, Puma, is only second to Man United. It's more than Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs, etc., etc. It's even Etihad Airways, I believe is based on like most recent public info. Like we don't know the current public info, but based on what we know, I think it's 65 million. I believe Arsenal's Emirates is 50 million. So that's a So what is that as a percentage? Can someone figure out percentage on that? I can't do maths right now. I'm tired. What is yeah. I don't know what, but that seems proportionate. Considering Arsenal weren't even in the Champions League a few years ago, that seems pretty proportionate to me. If anything, I'd argue that the Etihad should be a lot more than that. If we're going off the sleeve sponsor, which is by a factor of 2. So yeah. But yeah. There we go. Yeah, Toby. Yeah, like we can. I don't want this to become a game of they're immoral, because I'm sorry, but there is no such thing as an ethical billionaire. Your shit still smells. Yeah, City's shit smells. Arsenal's shit smells. United's shit smells. Yeah, every single big club has an affiliation to either a state or a company which you might not agree with, or whatever, or is dodgy from a moral perspective, whatever. Yeah, everyone's shit smells in this league. I don't want to start playing the blame game, because don't make me dig out stuff on your club. Don't make me bring up the Saudi telecom deal, which United have been had for like the past decade. Don't make me talk about the fact that Arsenal's stadium is literally named after a nation state, etc., etc. Like, everyone's shit smells. We're not gonna start playing that. Yeah, and that's the one for me. Don't make me talk about on Arsenal sleeve. We're not gonna play the blame game, and we're not gonna say, well, your shit smells worse than mine. We're all shitting into the same toilet at the end of the day. Just because yours has got a bit less piss on it or whatever doesn't make the shit stink any less. So yeah, that's just a little rant there. Right. Guys, that is my that's my rant. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully I was able to summarize some relatively tricky concepts into a very into a relatively succinct manner. We still haven't breached 100 likes, guys. What we doing? What we do? There we go. Now, as soon as I say that, we get to it. Thank you, guys. Someone said they want to subscribe. Just click the subscribe button, mate. I don't quite understand. Where was it? Where was it? I would have to be a subscriber. How can I get on Twitter? I would have to be a subscriber. Why don't you just leave a comment? Just leave a comment. If you want to put that into the Twitch thing later, Musty, you're more than welcome to. Football Toast talk about Crap Palace. Yeah, and again that looks shady. As does our 88 bet thing. I'm sure like technically it's legitimate and legal, but there's definitely some sort of bad stuff going on. Because as I understand it, the reason those things exist is because gambling's banned in China, so these countries use the Premier League basically as a billboard to advertise to a Chinese audience, as I understand it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. We covered a lot of complex matters there. Again, hopefully I made a lot of sense. If you guys have got any questions throughout, beyond this stream, feel free to pop them in the chat. We will be live later today. For Euros Watch Along. I'm also just about to go live on Mo's channel. I might as well do a redirect to my stack because I'm such a nice boy. If you've got any questions on anything, I'm sorry, guys, we couldn't do a Q&A today. LB's live. I wouldn't have gone live if I'd known LB was live. I apologize. I don't think that... someone here has asked me if I could do like an actual video. IFL Discovery said, can you do a video like the 115 charges? In my opinion, this isn't relevant enough to warrant such a video. I'll repeat, a lot of people have made a whole lot of nothing about this APT situation. No matter the results, life will move on. It actually doesn't matter. If City win, it won't matter. If City lose, doesn't matter. I think City will lose. If you want my thoughts on that, go back and review. But yeah, we'll be live for the Euros later, as I say. I'm just going to redirect to Mo. Where is he? Where is this fraud? Fully judge Mo. Oh, God, we're talking about England channel. Oh, my God. Maybe we're talking about England chances. Christ. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be talking about City. We're going to be talking about that. Just an aside. I watched the first 5 minutes of, I think LB, Hassam, and Mo were discussing the City APT situation. I had to turn it off. Because it was so wrong. It was just so... That's sort of what inspired me to make this stream today, guys. It was just so incorrect. But guys, thank you so much for joining me today. Again, if you have questions, just leave a comment here, Tinsy. If you got any questions on anything, I'll be back later for the Euros, where we'll discuss the Euros, and hopefully we can get away from City and the APT situation. We can talk about England. We can still talk about City, though, whatever. Have a lovely rest of your evening, guys. Make sure to join me later. Go watch my Man City transfer video if you haven't already. Go watch my Man City tactics video as well on the season. That's not got as many views as it should have done. A lot of work went into that. Go give it a watch. But until then, guys, have a lovely rest of your evening, and I'll see you all next time. Subscribe if you're new. Thank you, Ian, for the super chat. Thank you to all my members. Goodbye, guys.